Well, here's game 2 against Jarjarbink, who is now on my blocked list. He's running a Mimeoplasm Reanimator style deck. I'm playing Sliver Queen, of course. If you haven't checked out game 1, please look for that and watch that first. I expressed a lot of frustration in that game, as this guy, his primary complaint is that I'm lucky, and somehow that's a bad thing, like it's an insult. So, and I point out in the beginning of this game that he's the kind of person who thinks that when he wins, he won with skill, and when I win with luck. So he has to mulligan a few times. Now that is bad luck. I admit that's bad luck. I have to mulligan, and it always stinks when it happens. But check out what happens with his draw. I actually think, in hindsight, that what I should have enlightened for was Sylvan Library, because enlightening tutor for a Sylvan, Sylvan Libraries draw 9 cards, so I should have just gone and got draw 9 cards and win the game. But I went for the fast ramp because I had stroke. So he's developing fine. And I figured, since I don't have a counter, I'd go ahead and grab my cards before he untapped, in case he does have a counter. And that's what I get. Nothing. No more tutors. And check it out. Buried Alive. Terastodon, Jin-Gitaxis, Damia, Sage of Stone. 3, well, I don't know about Terastodon at this point in the game, but seriously big threats with Jin-Gitaxis and Damia. Luckily, the irony, this person is not complaining anymore. See, all of a sudden, all the complaints about luck have stopped because his draw got good. Now he just wants to play Magic. So I throw down Sliver Queen. It's actually a complete bait, because I figure I'm going to have to Terminus soon, and I in no way want to Terminus my Sliver Queen, but I want him to spend time dealing with it. And if he doesn't, this gambit won't pay off, actually. But it turns out he's got a Phantasmal Image, so great. Milked a card and bought myself an extra turn. I'm going to bring his Mimeoplasm over here. Now at this point, I get down Shackles just because I figured, I don't know which one he's going to reanimate. I'm sure it's going to be Jin-Gitaxis. That's what I would have chosen, but on the off chance he chooses Terastodon, I want to put out cards that he can target that don't matter. And then after he takes his peek with Sensei's Divining Top, I go ahead and just kill his Soul Ring. One play I debated was just Vandal Blasting, and then he would tap his Soul Ring, and I would grudge in response. But I went this route because the next time he taps his top, I can flashback grudge and kill it. Or I could do it in response to a search spell, depending on what feels right. So he, for some reason, exiles Phantasmal Image, which doesn't, I'm not quite sure. Doesn't really put any additional counters on his Mimeoplasm, but he gets a Jin-Gitaxis, and that's really all that matters, right? He goes from 1 card in hand to 7. So let's keep track of what's going on this game. My opponent has just drawn 7 cards. He discards Dread. It doesn't belong in his deck at all. But I think we've established this player is not of the highest caliber. So first things first, clear this guy out before he gets any more value out of it. And then just keep on developing some mana and hope I get some action over here. My opponent's play is Heartless Summoning, somewhat worthless, making his Vorinclex easier to shackles. But I'm a long way off from that. I'm definitely not going to array his Heartless Summoning. And I get a Land Tax, which hopefully will do something. Maybe I can find a... I can get 2 islands. I only have 2 basic islands, so I won't get enough to steal anything with Shackles. Nothing of the size... Well, maybe a Damia, but certainly not Vorinclex. I'm hoping he'll play like an Animate Dead, and I can just pop it with Ray. But no, he plays a Brain Geyser for 7, so our count is plus 14 cards for him, and another search spell, and a Vorinclex mash. So he's up 14 cards, he's searched, and he's got double mana. Okay. He discards some land, some removal, and a bad creature pretty much. So I go grab some lands and get down with the map and remove one of my fears, which was that he'll be able to do something with all these cards here. Okay. Find me some temp time maybe. At least this way I'm only facing Vorinclex, a whole pile of mana and a full hand. So he kills my island, definitely the right choice. And he makes it play with top, so I can finally kill it. He gets a card and he doesn't have to put the top back, but I also don't have to deal with him having a top anymore, so that's good. And he personal tutors for Demonic Tutor. Odd, why not just get the thing you want, but that's fine. And look at this. A Sphinx, so he gets to factor fiction. So I separate the Demonic Tutor, and he takes the tutor by itself. Pile 2 is what it was, just a tutor. So up a factor fiction on his 14 cards, and a couple tutors, and then he blows the world up, which is absolutely crazy here. He's got a very dominant position. I don't know what he's afraid of, land tax? I'm completely happy with that, though. I actually have a chance to be in this game now, that there's no pressure. And look at that. Top decking. Finally top decking. 26 cards down, and I finally draw something. And it's one of the best cards, the card I should have got in the first place. Unfortunately, he's got a tutor, so I assume he would just go kill it now. But that's not the play he makes. Recurring Insight. He plays Recurring Insight. So he draws 5 more cards. What is he doing? I have no idea, but he's already up, what do we say, 7? 7 was 14, and Recurring Insight is now 19 cards, plus the Factor Fiction and Tutors. So he's up, he's hard drawn 19 cards. Searches for a Runescarred Demon, because apparently he needs to search for more cards. I just don't understand. So of course, I'm desperate to find an out here. And hey, I see a Forbid now. Suddenly all these extra cards in my hand might actually do something. In theory now, I can forbid his rebounded Recurring Insight, but I've got the feeling that he's playing like big expensive spells, and he's just going to end up discarding a bunch. Maybe he'll play that Runescarred Demon or something. So I really want to hold Forbid back for an actual threat. Drawing extra cards thus far has not helped him. But if you've been keeping track, he's now at plus 26 cards out of just straight putting cards in his hand. He has picked up 26 extra cards at this point in the game. And then he bogs me, which really sucks because that was such a nice Yawgmoth Well waiting to happen. On the bright side, it's mostly mana, but it does mean I won't get a Terminus option anymore. So he goes for the Relic Crush on Sylvan. I definitely do not want my Sylvan to die. I'm really hoping this hits, and it does. He plays Ludwig's Test Subject, and he kills my Sylvan anyway. Major bummer there. Alright, so he's down to 7 cards. So I top deck this Merchant Scroll, and I figure what I really need is search here, and I go get my teachings. And then from there I'm good. So now he's pumping Ludwig up and rampant growthing, because obviously he's in desperate need for mana, right? And a Birthing Pod. Tapped out, he could sack the spawn and pay some life and kill his Ludwigs. I actually was really hoping he'd make that awful play. But he doesn't, so I have to think for a minute. I know exactly what I want to do. So I teachings for Vamp, think a bit, make sure that that's exactly what I want. It is. I get the vamp, and then I vamp for... What do you get? Oh yeah. Winter Orb City. Here it comes. Goodbye, Breathing Pod. Hello, Tezzeret. Welcome to prison, sir. So he doesn't even untap his Dimer Aqueduct. Like, this guy's just so bad. And he says, okay, like, oh, I'm so lucky now. Suddenly, I just, my mind is blown by this level of idiocy. Well, I admit, I just top decked the Swords of Plowshares. That was a lucky draw, but considering how bad my drawing is, I've got to draw something at some point. I was planning on flashing back Teachings for it. This works even better though, so I go fetch up a Mana Vault, which I can tap and untap with Tez. He puts a counter on the end of his turn. Still playing horribly, doesn't even untap his Dimer and sack, he has to sack his dude here, and in response, go away. Look at the whining going on the right. And finally I'm just so fed up with this guy. I thought he had drawn 20 extra cards, and actually by our count it was 21, so that's pretty good. I guess I had a good feel for things there. And I say to him that the difference between luck and skill is that he can draw 20 extra cards and I can beat him anyway. So finally he gets his head out of his fourth point of contact, which my military buddies understand, and probably civilians do too. But untaps the correct land, but it's far too late for him at this point in the game. The only out he has here is Crows and Grip, which I think he's actually running. So, I'm trying to put him away as fast as I can in this game. So I go get an Opal, and then although I like the idea of double pumping the Vault, I decide it's better, it'll serve me better as a Lotus. Keep laying the pressure on him, and he's building his mana base back up. And uses a Horror to get just a bit more mana. I thought about countering it, but then why? It's just mana. He already has mana. So he uses all that mana to play this piece of junk. And that's what happens. And then look at this guy. Your luck have it again. When you are lucky in top deck Tezzeret and Swords and it pass. Good game lucky. Like, I did top deck the Swords, but I searched for Tezzeret with Vampiric Tutor. So yeah, it was a very lucky top deck there, going and getting what I wanted. And B, who draws 21 cards and then whines about luck? It's the same guy who has 7 mana. Excuse me. 8 mana on turn 3 and whines about luck. Anyway, this guy's on my blacklist, and I hope you can see why. I hope you also don't have the misfortune of facing him.